Good afternoon. Sue Smith sitting in for Aaron on this gorgeous Friday, and David Heurtel sitting in for James Meny for the next little while. David, nice to talk to you again.
Always a pleasure, Sue.
David is a former Quebec Liberal cabinet minister and political analyst, and I want to start with the drama coming out of the Quebec Liberal Party. Charles Milliard has... Well, I guess he's doing damage control today, but basically he said he would renew the notwithstanding clause for Bill 96, and things have kind of blown up in his face.
Yeah, kind of, pretty much. So yesterday, after for an announcement of that magnitude, you would have thought he would have prepared in a much better way and not done it like in the middle of a hot room press conference in Quebec City while other topics were being discussed. Clearly not prepared for the blowback. Even, his responses yesterday, you kind of wonder if he understands the legislative process, how bills are modified. And even, it was so bad, I kind of was wondering, did he actually read Bill 96? But anyways, now today... now he started to walk it back. Now he's saying, well, I'll take out what I feel is important to take out, which he already said yesterday, the 6-month limit for immigrants to learn French, and also all the red tape for small and medium-sized businesses that have to go through Bill 96. And then I'll see if the notwithstanding clause is still warranted.
Right.
But he says it's overblown, it's politics. But what it really does show, Sue, is, first of all, I think he doesn't understand really what he stepped into and the way he did it, both with the Anglophone community. And again, let's remember, without the Anglophone community, the Liberal Party of Quebec is not the official opposition in Quebec City, without a doubt. And so, and everybody, Anglo, Franco, understands that for the Liberals to form government, you have to show some strength on the protection of the French language and show some strength on the protection of the French culture. But the fact is, at the end of the day, the Liberal Party of Quebec's founding principles, key core values, include, foremost, the protection of individual rights. And so when you have André Pratt and a caucus member, Madouani Cacadet, writing a report in 2023 saying, okay, the use of the notwithstanding clause should come after the courts have made decisions and only as an exceptional measure and only if absolutely necessary. After Dominique Anglade in 2022 said, I would, take out the notwithstanding clause from Bill 96, going back to 2002, the core values written in a book by Claude Ryan, forward written by Jean Charest, saying the same thing about the notwithstanding clause and its exceptional use, and only after the courts have made it absolutely necessary. You gotta frame this. You gotta explain this. The fact that the English-speaking community was taken aback by this today. You have the leaders of talk saying, hey, we didn't know about this. Even it seems that we're getting reports from La Presse that even some caucus members were taken aback with this announcement. So I think Charles Milliard, to paraphrase Jacques Parizeau's famous saying, auto banana peeled himself, and so he's going to have to try to rebuild those bridges with the English-speaking community, especially that he didn't really build them yet. He isn't known yet in the English-speaking community. Yeah. So for this to be his first kind of real introduction is kind of clumsy at the very least.
Yeah, so, it made me think when I heard it, and so he was on with Elias Makos this morning, and I could hear him kind of walking back and getting frustrated. He was like, there's more that I didn't get to say. It just made me think, wow, this is a guy who does not know politics, first of all, which we knew, right? The guy is not a political expert. Arguably, that's why he's in this position, because we got sick of all the, professional politicians and their shenanigans. So part of it is that, but also I wonder who's he surrounding himself with.
There you go. I think that's a great point, Sue. I think he is clearly not well surrounded by senior advisors. It's okay to not have experience in politics.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Mark Carney, he's made a few mistakes, but not many.
No.
But he's got a senior team around him. He's got some heavy-duty advisors around him. But you kind of wonder, and maybe this is going to be an isolated mistake, and maybe he can weather this and come through it and really build the bridges that need to be built here, because there is a political risk here. I mean, there are writings in Montreal, for example, and in Laval. If Anglos stay home, the Liberals don't win.
Yeah.
And I'll give you two recent examples. Saint-Henri-Saint-Anne, Dominique D'Anglade's former writing, is now Québec Solidaire. Mm-hmm. Why? Because the Anglos stayed home. Same thing with Verdun. Verdun was lost in the 2022 election, partly because a lot of Anglos just stayed home. So I'm just saying that, I totally agree with your point. It's one thing to not have experience in politics, but to bring out something like this without doing like the proper legwork, the foundational work with the communities, with your supporters, with your M&As. Why not do this with, a major policy speech, talking about your core values, talking about your core principles, explaining why you're doing it? You can't go on the next day. You can't go to Elias Mackos getting all impatient about this because of the way you brought it up.
Exactly.
You can't afterwards blame everybody else for reacting. Hey, how come you came out of left field? You can't blame people for saying, hey, you came out of left field. And so, I totally agree with you. This shows not only a lack of experience on his part, but clearly, around him, there are people that are not advising him well on how to present this position, because this was clearly not a surprise. I mean, this question is asked of him every single week. Mm-hmm. And every single leader of the Quebec Liberal Party, going back to Robert Bourassa, is asked, okay, what's your stance on language laws? Yeah. This is not new. So, really, he's going to have to really rethink how he approaches this strategically, and really hone a message that, yes, can build some support with some nationalists in the regions, with the Francophones, because he does need that vote, but at the same time, not feel like he's letting go of his core base. And let's remember, it's not just an Anglo-Franco thing. This is a core value of the Quebec Liberal Party.
Well, that's it. And, I find it ironic on a day when he's, gotten a big boost in the polls just by existing. And to your point about the English vote, right? People are like, oh, okay, well, I can vote for the Liberals now. And then, to be fair, it is, and I think you alluded to this too, it's always been a balancing act between, obviously the nationalist elements of the party and the people that want to protect the French language and Anglophones. And so it's not easy, but I think
it's about, first you have to build the trust with the community.
Exactly. Yes,
and that isn't done yet. No. He hasn't laid the foundation, the core foundation that says, okay, we know he's got our back, and then you can understandably go out, because he does just have 21% support in the Francophones. Mm-hmm. And if the Liberals, even if they're tied in the polls right now, they would not even be close right now to forming government. Mm-hmm. It would be the PQ. Mm-hmm. They need higher support in the regions. And because you're going to have three-way, four-way races in a lot of these ridings, some voters, not a lot, comparatively to the economy, housing, cost of living, healthcare, which are higher priorities, generally speaking, with Quebecers, but in tight races, Liberals have to be able to say, we're going to be strong on language, we're going to be strong on culture. Mm-hmm. And that's been a weakness of theirs ever since Philippe Couillard left office.
And then there's this weird thing of Mark Carney saying to Christine Fréchette, don't worry, we're not going to take away the notwithstanding clause. So what's with the Liberal brand here? David, what are the Liberals? I know it's a different party, but what do Liberals stand for?
Well, there's Sean Fraser. Here's another one. I think Sean Fraser, not being from Quebec, the Justice Minister, I don't think he validated his statements with the Prime Minister's office, saying, "Hey, we'll take a look at legislation that may, force, some restrictions on the use of the notwithstanding clause. Hello. You don't touch that with a 20-foot pole. And so, and this is a question. This is one of the questions before the Supreme Court of Canada as we speak. Yeah. And so, and let's face it, this is not just a Quebec thing. Ontario is using the notwithstanding clause. Saskatchewan is using the notwithstanding clause. Alberta is using it. I mean,
almost as much as Quebec.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. And so, and the numbers at Quebec are skewed because right after 1982, the Levesque government, as a sign of protest, put it on everything for a few years. So that really, it was so.
Yes, I remember.
That high number that comes from Quebec, you have to take out, the protests from the Levesque years, 82 to 84. But that aside. That's a blunder, and rightly so. Fréchette said, hey, there's no way you're going to touch to the use of the notwithstanding clause. And first of all, it lacks also a comprehension of our Constitution because Parliament cannot unilaterally modify the Constitution. It takes the federal government, 7 provinces representing 50% of the population. So you can't just go ahead and just pass a bill and say, okay, now the notwithstanding clause can only be applied in such manner.
I think we all remember how long it took to get this one.
Exactly.
Listen, I got to wrap you up.
It was a blunder, but I got to say, Sue, Carney walked it back,
He did.
He said, I apologize, but that's what I love about the Carney style. It's like, oh, this is wrong. Yeah. I apologize. Let's move on. Fréchette accepted, and it's the end of the crisis.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm guessing Charles Milliard needs to take some lessons from Mark Carney. This is the point I'm getting from you today.
I think that would be a good idea.
Okay. Thanks so much. Great talking to you.
Great talking to you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
I'm Luke Wilson. Join me each week for Film Never Lies. Since retiring from the NFL, I've had a lot on my mind, and now I've got my own show. So if you're tired of lazy takes, if you want honest conversations, join us each week. Film Never Lies, available on all TSN platforms and the iHeartRadio app.